perfect day for you to be on the show, given all this breaking news.
We might as well start with your reaction to Zeke getting signed. He's back, and he's ready to go for the Cowboys.
I think the first thing I thought about was yes, because I feel like that's a great, person to have back with Dak. Because, we're talking about the contracts. He missed training camp, and it's like, okay, now we have our guy back who's going to be able to move the chains. And that's what everything's about. I just wonder, is he going to play a first full game?
Well, and so the latest reports are he's going to be at practice today because they want him to be able to play that first full game. So let's assume for the time being he's on the 47-man active roster for the first game, and he does play. Chris has been adamant about this, and every other...
What do I know?
And every former player that we've had sitting...
You know a little bit about football.
I try to tell them.
He tries to tell us all the time. And every other former player we've had sitting in that seat has talked about the importance of the contact of training camp, the importance of whatever he was doing cardio-wise in Cabo was one thing, but the actual physicality of football. So, having played as long as you did and at as high of a level as you played, what version of Zeke will we see early? How much did he miss by not being in training camp and not playing in the preseason?
I think we're going to see a half of Zeke. Now, and talking about he's not going to be able to play a full game. And one thing that Bill Parcells always told me, I want you guys battle hardened. That means that you're going to go through OTAs with the pads, training camp with the pads, and now your body's going to be ready for that type of impact. But I know you've been in Cabo, so it's like, okay, well, then how much can you play? And I heard you talking earlier about he still is a threat on the football field.
Yes.
Can he now just hand it off to Zeke a little bit, now go do a little bit of play action?
Yes, absolutely.
And now you can beat guys deep down the field because you still have to account for that guy.
Definitely. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, how much better, if he plays a whole game or not, if he's 50% or not, how much better did the team automatically get just having him at least on the field for as long as they possibly can?
I think 94% better.
Don't get specific, right?
I love that number.
You like that number?
I love 94 for
Why
some reason. Because the thing is, when you have a guy like Zeke out there, and me from the linebacker position, first of all, I got to worry about the run. Right? And then now, if you don't hand it off to him, that makes now those two deep safeties. You got to be able to bring some guy up, and now you can play deep with. You can throw the ball deep. So I just think that now you got the Giants first, big NFC games. Those games are like detrimental. You got to win those early. And having that guy out there makes them at least 94% better.
Every team has a natural enthusiasm for the regular season to start. But I've been fortunate enough to cover this game a long time, and I was fortunate enough to cover it when you were in a contract dispute with Dallas. And they had to come up with that money to be able to pay you. And we always talked about, man, he's the cornerstone. Jerry had mentioned it, but I knew in the locker room. You made the Dallas Cowboys go. They had some other people. They might have had more endorsements and more splash, but you were the heart and soul. What does that locker room feel like today when one of your brothers got that big payday and they come in and you're also ready to start the season? What do you think Dallas locker room is like today?
The thing is, it's like a party right now. You had the guys from training camp. He's not there. Where's our guy? And that's where you usually build that team camaraderie, right? And now for the first game, we got our guy back, the guy that wants to eat. And he's the guy that really moves the chain. So I feel like now they have everybody back. Everybody's excited. They're happy. They can take a deep breath and now get ready for that first game.
And two follow-ups on that. One is, Chris asked what it's like for the other players in the locker room. What's it like for the player? When you've played at that high level, and you've obviously been making NFL money, but you're in a contentious dispute, and then once you do actually sign the new deal, which changes you and your family's life forever, what's Zeke, there's not a lot of people that know this, what's Zeke feeling right now today, the next few hours?
He's feeling a lot of pressure. If he's that guy, if he's that captain of the team, I'm going to put everything on my back. And saying that, I don't want to be that. I hear DeMarcus on television. I'm talking to him saying, I'm not a halftime player, right? I'm not going to play 1 or 2 quarters. I'm going to go out there. I was ready while I was in Cabo. I'm going to get the ball. I'm going to move the chains. I'm going to have an opportunity to now, get my team some wins. Because you gave me the money. I'm solidified. and I'm going to show you the reason why you gave it to me.
And then one quick follow-up on that. What is it like negotiating with Jerry Jones? We hear that he's one of the go-to owners when they're negotiating television deals. We know Jerry's got a funny way of speaking sometimes. We think of him as kind of an old time, but we've heard
DeMarcus, boy, you know I love you.
The smartest guy in the business.
I love you, boy. You know I love you. You're always going to be a Cowboy. You know that, right?
Right.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
Every day,
So,
we get
but
this
you,
every
hold on, you
day.
just said something, though. Smartest guy in the business, and we are one of the toughest negotiators in the business. So what was Zeke and his representation going through? What's it like negotiating with Jerry?
The thing is, when you sit down at the table, the room is dark, there's a candle right here, and it's you and him talking. And you're not my guy anymore. It's like, I'm going to give you, 6 years, $90 million. Do you want to accept that or not? With no smiles, because it's all about business after that. And that's how Jerry Jones do his business, one-on-one. And I knew that once Zeke got on that plane and he was coming to the Dallas Cowboys, he's about to get signed. Because it's not about any other accolades, it's about me and you making that deal.
All right, so if Zeke is the happiest guy this morning, I would imagine Dak Prescott is probably the second happiest guy to have him back. How much better does Dak get on Sunday having Zeke in the lined up right there next to him?
And we saw last year when Zeke wasn't in the game that the offenses knew that, okay, well, and they don't have a run game, and their offense is really predicated on the play-action pass. And then all of a sudden, Zeke comes back, and the game totally changes for Dak. It takes a lot of pressure off of him. He doesn't have to now try to manipulate all kinds of plays. He can actually hand the ball off. He can go through his reads now because there's not, 2 free safeties. One guy has to come up now, almost be like a linebacker because Zeke is running the ball. So that takes a lot of pressure off of him. And I think now the guy that just took a deep breath in the locker room was Dak, because he's like, we got a two-headed monster back, me and Zeke.
All right, so for
before it was him and Tony Pollard.
And what have they said about Tony Pollard is not Zeke Elliott. All right, so for the Cowboys, a lot of people are very high on the Philadelphia Eagles. I think I'm sitting across from two of them who are about as high on them as anybody. They're incredibly deep. Last year was a down year. They still made the playoffs. I know they didn't win the division. The Cowboys did. How good are the Cowboys now? How do they stack up with Philly? And best case scenario, how does this go for them this year?
When you think about the NFC East, every game is going to be a challenge. But the thing is, now you have everybody back. Just think about their young defense. They just signed Jalen, right? You got Sean Lee. You got the awesome linebacker core, but the corners are very young, but they can play really well. DeMarcus Lawrence, their pass rush is doing really well with Tyrone Crawford. So I think that I'm talking from a defensive standpoint. They are on point, but now can we gel and get everything together back with Zeke and be that team that we need to be? And with Philly, Philly has an awesome team. We know that. So the NFC is up for grabs.
Right now, the Dallas Cowboys, if I was to analyze them, my biggest concern happens to be their defensive line. Right. Now, I know you got friends on that team. I don't know if you're being 100% honest as far as your concern with their lack of depth, with guys being suspended. Is that a championship defensive line that they have in Dallas?
I wouldn't say they're a championship defensive line. I wouldn't say that. They are a great defensive line, but they do have a lot of missing pieces. But everything that's behind them, when you say there's no I in team, there is an I in team, because if I don't do my job, the team suffers, right? So the 4 guys up front they're everything. They're front 7, but they have, the 3 linebackers that are really good, and 4, corners. But the defensive line, they're a little bit shaky. And that's going to be, when you're playing against Philly, when you're playing against Washington, keep going up, the Giants, they're going to hand that ball off. And that front 7 is key to everything.
All right, I don't think it's hyperbolic to ask this. With Ezekiel Elliott, especially after a couple of weeks of him getting into it and getting his snaps and all of it, with him in there, is this a Super Bowl team?
This is a Super Bowl team if they can get into the playoffs, because they've been there enough to know what it feels like to now get that extra edge into winning the championship. But the thing is I feel like it's going to come down to the beginning of the season, how they start. Zeke hasn't been there. How is the team actually going to gel at the beginning of the season, because there's been so many NFC East games? It's
First 2 weeks are Giants-Washington, and that's, to the point, I think, of Zeke's leverage was, if they are going to have a successful season, how critical the beginning of the season was, getting him in, even if he's not 100% for the first game of the year. But to me, at least, an enormous part about what is the Cowboys' ultimate upside is, how much will Dak Prescott improve year 3 to year 4? Are you sold on Dak Prescott? And what do you think he needs to do most to evolve his game to get to the level of the guy you played with, who he replaced, who was an excellent quarterback, even though much maligned, in Tony Romo?
I think that, when you think about a quarterback, and you know as well, you can't just be a play-action quarterback. You have to be able to, do a lot of the short passes, a lot of the out routes, a lot of the crossings route, which you never liked because I tried to hit you when we were playing linebacker. But I just think that you have to be an all-around guy. One thing that he has a lot of athleticism, yeah, but if you're at quarterback, you got to be able to pass the football, not just hand it off to Zeke, and that's going to be a big thing that I want to see this season.
You mentioned Bill Parcells. What's your thoughts on Jason Garrett, who's going into this season, final year of his contract? Everyone seems to be getting extended with the Cowboys. Jason Garrett has not. What's your evaluation of him and his situation with Dallas?
I think they put him in a perfect role because now he's not calling the plays. You got John Kitna. You got, Keelan taking a lot of pressure off of him. And he actually can be a coach. He is an amazing coach when it comes to motivating. That's what a coach is supposed to do. They're supposed to delegate, being in the special teams meeting, in the defensive meetings, in the offensive meetings. They keep everything together like glue. That's what his job is, and I know that's what he's going to do very well.
All right, just quickly, who's the best team in the NFC?
Best team in the NFC? I would say right now the Rams, because they just signed Goff. And now they're really pumped about what they have going on. And that defense, they have everything that it takes to get them to a championship. I was going to say the Saints, but I think the Rams.
All right.
Well, tell us what brings you here today.
Oh, what brings me here today, I'm actually here with Snickers, and we're actually, giving the hungriest player and fan an opportunity to sort of win this bling here.
Oh.
And this bling right here travels throughout the season to let the hungriest player.
Wow, that's nice. Let me hold that, man.
This is big. This is big.
Oh,
You're gonna have to get
this
that
is
back.
heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Giving this to the hungriest
Not hollow
player.
here, man.
No.
Yes.
That's solid gold.
And that's going to be given to a player on each team every week.
Oh, okay.
Every week.
Wow. Is Snicker trying to bite off of college football? The turnover chain?
Yes, they are.
Snicker's trying to turn everyone over to Snickers. Snickers Mars.
Exactly. That is amazing.
Are you? Listen, I watched you during your career. You weren't a huge jewelry guy.
I'm not a big jewelry guy, but the contracts that we're giving out right now, somebody needs this chain, right?
Yeah.
And not just the on-the-field stuff, but off-the-field stuff, too. So the last person, actually not the last person, but the fans get to be involved, too. And they get an opportunity to now, you go through the 16 weeks, and the person that they nominate for this chain, I don't know what the worth is, but I know it's heavy. They get to put the worth of this chain to their charity. So it's going to be this is really big.
Really
well, let me
stuff.
see that, because number one charity I know is me.
You gonna wear it?
Let me.
My guy.
DeMarcus, thank you so much for being with us today.
Take your glasses off first.
You got to take your glasses off.
At all.
That is amazing.
That looks good.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.